Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. So it's way overdue. It's November 28th and I still have pumpkins sitting here rotting in my planters, dead plants. This wreath, as much as I've loved it, it's time for it to go. It's been beat by the wind and that blizzard we had. It's time to go. If you don't know how I made this wreath, I have a video to it. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description down below for you. But it's time to make this a little more winter festive out here. So I'm gonna swap all this out for some nice greens and, you know, just something a little more sparkly and cheery for December and probably into January. So I've done videos like this before, going into more details of how I do the greens and that in my pots. So if you want to see that, I'll link videos to those as well. But I think I'll mostly just show you what I have, what I'm working with, and then get this all cleaned out and just get to work. So I was out at my parents' farm yesterday and I cut a whole bunch of Scots pine and some fir. So this has, some of these fir has some really beautiful blue color to the tips and some is more green. And then the pine will give a really nice wispy lightness. So I have these that I'll cut up and fit into the arrangements, and the fir will probably be most of my, or the spruce will be most of my base layer, and then I'll build it in after as well. This will give some light texture, and then I picked some things up at the garden center the other day as well, a few bundles, so I'll show you those, and then I have some sticks and twigs and things to perk it up. And I'm actually working on a special craft, but that'll have to wait till later because it's not quite ready. But let's see what else I have. So I also picked up a bag of cedar cuttings. So those will be really nice. And then some more spruce. Now these are a heavier spruce, and it actually has a little bit of kind of a blue gray to the needles on some of the needles as well. So that'll be really pretty in there. But it is nice if you know someone or have somewhere where you can legally go and do some cutting. It's a great savings because these two bags here cost me about $30 here, whereas I filled the back of my SUV with cuttings from the farm for free. But you do have to know where you're cutting from and if you have permission to do that, because you don't want to be taking from reserves and things, you know, nature sites that don't allow that. And then I just have a selection of snowmen and things that I've purchased, and then you can see these tree cutoffs that I decorated in an earlier video. I'll also put a link to that if you want to see how I made those. This box here also has some stems and twigs. This is forsythia. I believe that's curly willow. I actually purchased those a couple years ago and I just saved them. And it looks like I don't have my red dogwood stems out here, but I'll be grabbing some of those probably to put in as well. It's also I'm going to be working on when I get decorating. But first I need to clean up this mess. So let me get to that. So these pumpkins have been frozen. They're just going to go, they're all mushy. They're just going to go in the compost. So I'm just cutting these plants off at the base. These are just annuals that I've had growing since this spring. Some of them I actually had in different parts of the garden and moved up here this fall because most of my pots were cut back in the backyard, but some of them still had some nice color, and it was nice to have that up here where they'd be seen more. So this is mostly pansies and osteosperma, which last really well and can take several light frosts. And really, they're still a little bit green, even with the hard frosts that we've had. So, great thing to have. And then I'm hoping with this that I can actually save the stem that the form that I made to reuse, and just cut everything else off to go. So I just have jute twine holding some of these bundles on here, so it's nice because I can just cut them where they're tied on, and then they can all just go straight in the compost. I should have done this somewhere else because I'm making a real mess on the ground here. So there. It's nice. When you make a frame like that, it's easy to just yank all that off, and now I have this nice frame that I can use hopefully to attach my greens to. I'm going to work on that tomorrow. My sister-in-law is going to come over, and we're just going to have a nice day of making some wreaths together. So I think for now, if I still have a loop here, I'm just going to hang this back on the door like that, and then I'll know where I put it. Alright, so I've just grabbed a little bit of compost that I had in a bucket from cleaning up my bins at the end of the summer. I always like to empty out my compost bin and be able to start fresh in the fall because it usually freezes up. So I'll just use that for a base to put my greenery in, and we'll see if I can still get my greenery poked in here. I may need to pour some warm water in and thaw the soil that was already in here out. This other compost I have was in my shed and it's a little more loose. So we'll see how that goes. We don't need that in there. Okay, so I'm going to start with these two big pots and then work my way down to the smaller one down here. And I'm just going to be cutting. I'll just throw my extras in here to use for wreaths and things later. And we'll just play with it till it's how I like it. I would recommend gloves for this, besides just the spiky nature of the spruce. A lot of these will have a lot of sap and pine on them. Now, if you buy them at the garden center or big box store or wherever, you probably won't be having bits of grass and twigs and things stuck to them, but I just cut these, threw them in the ground, on the ground, and came back for them later, so I may have to do some cleaning. I should have grabbed some smaller snips. So when I'm cutting for myself, I just cut a very large piece. Actually, it's a smaller piece than a lot of the ones that I cut. And some are really scraggly and empty at the bottom here if they've been in a spot at the bottom of the tree with no light. That doesn't matter because I just cut off the parts I want and leave the rest. So, and that way when I'm cutting Mom and Dad's plants, I'm not leaving them looking gawky. They look like I wasn't there when I leave. Okay, so there's our base, and let's get some more layers in here. I'd like to get some of this nice blue. I'm really liking how that greenery base has come together there. I just realized I forgot some snowball lights that I have in the house, so I'm gonna go grab those and try and get them worked in before I get it too full here. And then we'll see if we need to add any more greenery or anything. We'll add some twigs and see where we go from there. But I gotta go with those lights. So there's the first one, pretty much done. Like I said, I have another little project that's going to add a little bit more color and height in there, as long as it works out. So when I get that done, I'll share some shots of that. But time to work on pot number 2 here. I'd grabbed these berries when I went inside, but I don't think I'll use them for these pots. We'll see. You never know. These are just artificial twigs. Okay, so there's number 2. And there's the first one I started with. You can see I've added some forsythia twigs. I need to be a little bit careful with that pot, how much I put in there for height and things, because I do have the doorbell there that's kind of back in the corner. It's hard to reach, so I have to be careful what I do there. So I'm going to do a little bit with this little pot here, and then we'll be good. I think that turned out pretty nice. Like I said, I'll get some more to add in there later. So I'm gonna clean this mess up and put some of my larger snowman pieces in here, and we'll be done. So we get that wreath done and those last little bits. Okay, so I got those last little bits and pieces put in here. Like I said, I have a little project I'm working on inside that'll still need to get added to this, but I'll put a shot of that at the end, and that's all there is to it. I just think, you know, lots of layers, different textures, and, you know, a few pops of color is all you really need to make a nice display. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.